the Man Space Podcast. Take it away, fellas.
Thank you, voice girl, and welcome to another edition of the Man Space Podcast. Now, this is the voice of Russ, and this is a bonus edition of the Man Space Podcast, as we've been calling it the Russ Company Series, because throughout the month of December, we are dropping extra episodes to the Man Space Nation. I have been sitting down with some pretty amazing people, and today is no different. See, my guest today, he is a multifaceted individual with a passion for philosophy, psychology, and understanding the human condition. He has been sharing his knowledge on meditation for over 2 decades, and he's authored multiple books on the conscious mind and self-healing. His works include conducting workshops and seminars that have helped numerous people worldwide. His teachings are centered around self-empowerment, awareness, aiming individuals to be enabled to realize their true potential and attain higher level of consciousness. Wow. He is committed to assisting others in recognizing and harnessing their abilities and believe that we're in the cusp of a new era of enlightenment. Manspace Nation, give it up for my guest, Mr. Dean Gray. How are you, sir? Welcome in.
I'm great. Thank you for having me, Russ. It's a pleasure to be here.
So, right off the bat, for those that are not very familiar with meditation or don't really get into it, how would you describe meditation and what are the benefits of actually doing it?
Well, that requires quite a bit of unpacking.
Okay.
Meditation is a very misunderstood behavior that we as humans have available to us, and understand that one of our primary purposes or missions, shall I say, for participating in creation. In other words, simply being alive and participating,
Right.
is to explore awareness. We all have awareness. There's no one that does not have awareness, but awareness is directional. And there is a design to our experience. Part of that design, a strategic part of that design, is we will create with each lifetime an identity. The identity, you can also call it a hierophant or an ego. It's all the same thing, but it is a false perception of self. And we create this for a purpose, to attempt to, based upon our experiences, to get more of what we like. We're all motivated to get more of what we like. And what we like varies from person to person, no dispute about that. But that notwithstanding, nobody wakes up in the morning and says, I'm going to go out and get more of what I don't like today. They may get more of what they don't like, but that's not their ambition. That's not their intent. And so we create this identity in order to try to trick the world into giving us more of what we like. Included in this identity, the identity is nothing more than a bundle of beliefs that we begin accruing and assimilating from the minute that we're born. The first thought that we process as an infant begins this process. And certainly when we're an infant, our beliefs are very simple, and they come to us obviously from our parents and from our caregivers. As we become children, that becomes more complicated. As we become teenagers and adults, we're doing the same thing. We're modifying this identity in order to trick the world to give us more of what we like. Meditation allows us, whenever we begin to do it, to learn to invert that same awareness that heretofore has been directed outside of us to observe the world's reactions to our identity so that we'll know how to modify our identity in order to get more of what we like. But meditation allows us to turn that awareness around and invert it and start beginning to become aware of what we have incorporated into this identity and to make changes within us that are the seed for our perpetuation of experiences that we don't like. And so meditation is by far the most strategic healing tool that we have available to us because it requires us to simply invert the same awareness that we've developed in order to perpetuate this identity and begin to become aware of what we have agreed to install inside of us that perpetuates our stress and suffering.
When you're talking about this healing, are you referring to physical or mental healing or heartbreak or things like that?
Well, the condition of our physical body for most
Mhm,
people, and there are people that have chosen a lifetime, and we do choose our lifetimes, that have chosen a lifetime where they will experience a handicap of some sort.
mhm,
Those that choose a lifetime like that, number one, may be choosing that lifetime because they are teachers and teach others to explore themselves and to
mhm,
learn of themselves. Or they have chosen a difficult, what would be perceived to be a difficult lifetime to accelerate their evolution, their consciousness evolution. As
mhm,
far as healing um, is a difficult term to understand. Our physicality, our mind and body, our brain and body is a manifestation, the condition of our brain and body is a manifestation of our mind. And our mind instructs our body how to be. And so when we heal our mind, which includes emotions,
mhm,
then we automatically heal the body.
mhm. This is more of in the mindset of you can, I guess, have what you think. What you, if you bring in positive vibes into your mind, you're gonna attract positivity. Is that kind of the mindset you're going with?
Well, it does. We
Mhm,
perceive erroneously that we can create thought. We do not
mhm,
create thought. We attract thought. All of
mhm,
creation is a thought experiment, and we have perceptions of authenticity
mhm,
predicated upon the beliefs that are the result of the thoughts that we attract of how things really are. Uh, we exist in a very low range of consciousness. Everybody has to start somewhere. And
mhm,
we're attempting to evolve through this range of consciousness that requires us to explore awareness and eventually to become awareness because awareness uh, as a concept is an inherent characteristic of the creator. And so consequently, the evolutionary process is dissolving our perceptions of autonomy and separation and eventually evolving into greater degrees of unity with creation and with the creator itself.
mhm. When we're in a time that seems stressful right now. As we're recording this, we're in the middle of the longest shutdown in American history. Uh, Jobs report for last month, we had the highest amount in over 22 years of people without jobs. People are struggling right now to put food on the table, pay for health care. It's a very high time of stress.
Mm-hmm.
How can somebody use meditation to help alleviate some of that stress?
Okay. Well, let's talk about the topic of stress.
Mhm.
What is stress? Everyone experiences stress, but what is it? And usually, when I do this in group settings and I ask that question, and I'll get responses like, well, it's worry or not having enough money or this, that, and the other. It can be some physical things, but those are all manifestations of stress. Stress is a point in time experience, and stress is nothing more than the difference between your expectations and how things really are. So if we were able to experience uh, things, life
Right.
as it really is, without using the lens of our expectations, then we ideally would no longer experience stress.
Mm.
But we don't have that capacity right now. That's what we're
Right.
learning. That's what we're exploring by having experiences.
So going back to your first points, you were talking about the beliefs and how everybody was brought up into certain beliefs. How do you get somebody to modify those beliefs? Because if I was taught some way for 30, 40 years from my parents, from school, from the people I'm around to learn something new, how do you get somebody to be willing to accept something new and look into a style of meditation?
Well, I tell my students
Hmm.
when stress is painful,
Hmm.
some experiences are more stressful than others, and so they are more painful than others. We
Hmm.
stay the same until the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of change. And so we'll retain those beliefs that we've incorporated that are our perception of self. That's who we believe that we are. We'll retain those until they provide us with enough pain and sometimes suffering that we're willing to change. So the pain of staying the same has exceeded the pain of change, and it's only through change that we can heal. Stress is a spectrum. If you like cream in your coffee in the mornings and you're out of cream, that's a very minor stress. You'll
Right.
probably live through that, but that notwithstanding, it's something you don't like. The
Hmm.
opposite end of the spectrum is something that we deem to be traumatic. And trauma is the most extreme, and that varies from individual to individual. That is beyond the capacity of the individual at that point in time that they're having that experience to resolve that situation. And so it stays with them. Matter of fact, all of the experiences that we don't like, all the experiences that we have are messages to us, about something that we're supposed to learn about us. If it is a pleasurable experience, then it's probably something that we want to keep. It reinforces the beliefs that we've incorporated into this identity. If
Hmm.
it's something that we don't like, then it's something that challenges the authenticity of the beliefs that we've incorporated into our identity. And so, for the most part, the experiences that we don't like are lessons about things that we need to become aware of and change. Now, how you change is through awareness. While your awareness is pointed outside of you, in other words, you're promoting this identity to try to trick the world into giving you more of what you like, you're going to encounter a whole lot of what you don't like. Or it's going to be a very short tenure of gratification. And many of us, we all begin as infants, and infants live on immediate gratification. If they're hungry, I want hungry
Right.
solved right now.
Yes.
A lot of people never get past that point, and they need immediate gratification throughout their entire lifetimes. We call those people, they usually will evolve into narcissists, psychopaths, or sociopaths.
Oh,
That's
wow.
that's the extreme, but that's what where that behavior comes from is their lack of maturity as a conscious being.
But
They have no little or no consideration for others as long as they're receiving immediate gratification for their needs.
But don't you feel that's a part of society today because we are in a very microwave society?
Yeah.
Everything is hurry up and it's what if you flip on the TV, you have 24-hour news channels, you have 24-hour sports channels, you have, everything that you want is right there at your fingertips. It's everything is give it to me right now. I don't have to wait for it.
Well,
So,
but what you're doing is you're reinforcing that identity. You're
mhm,
constantly reinforcing that identity. And I tell my meditation students, you see, we simultaneously exist in both the metaphysical world and the physical world. The metaphysical world is our enduring self, and that is actually a consciousness pattern. We don't
mhm,
have a physical body like we do when we're incarnate. And if you imagine that we're on a sports team, and
mhm,
all through the week, we practice. We get ready for a game. We look at game films. We get coaching. We try to get better at what we're doing. And then we're in the game. And then when you're in the game, you try to remember what it is that you did in practice so that you can implement that and achieve that. In other words, that make that part of you. Uh, a lifetime is exactly the same thing. Right now, you and I are in the game and we're
mhm,
playing the game. When the game is over, then we'll go back to practice. We'll look at game films again and we'll get coaching and say, what did we do right? What did we do wrong? What can we do
right,
better? And we get planned for the next game. And so what we're experiencing right now is the game. You're absolutely right that there is constant stimulus of new information from a variety of different sources, but understand that is part of the problem because we have that available to us, but we don't have to participate in that 24 hours a day.
mhm,
What meditation allows us to do, and I explain to my students that we exist in both the guru's cave and the village. Right now, we're in the village. All problems exist in the village, and everything that you're describing is in the village. When we
right,
learn to meditate, then we allow ourselves to escape to the guru's cave where there are no problems. And so,
mhm,
consequently, we gain perspective not only on the village, but ourselves participating in the village. I'm sure you've had the experience, probably not as often as you would like, but you've had the experience of going on vacation.
mhm,
When you go on vacation, it takes you, like everybody, I'm sure it takes 2 or 3 days till you get out of that work mode
right,
and you get into the vacation mode. And so
mhm,
then you enjoy your vacation, then you have to come back to work, you come back to the village, and you same problems existed after you get back that did before you went, but you have an entirely different perspective on the problems. And problem solving probably becomes significantly easier for a period of time until you get enmeshed in the village again.
right,
So when you allow yourself that escape on a daily basis to the guru's cave where there are no problems, and then come back into the village, your capacity to interact with the village and the perspective of the size and the intensity of the problems are significantly less. Mindfulness is nothing more than developing your meditation practice to the point that you learn to take the frame of mind that you gain in your meditation with you when you go back into the village. And so you're in the village, but you're not of the village. And so you are no longer affected by the difficulties that dealing with the village all the time does for most people.
mhm. Don't tell my boss this. My vacation mode starts about 48 hours before I ever leave.
Okay,
So
well, there's a transition period, is what point I was trying to make.
But how do you differentiate between stress and suffering? And are there any distinct experiences or different expressions of the same root issue?
Understand that the stress that you're experiencing is only as a result of the beliefs that you've incorporated into this false
Mhm,
identity. Something that challenges the belief that you've incorporated into your identity, And so consequently, you don't like that. So you resist that. You resist becoming aware of what it is inside of you that you need to change.
Mm-hmm.
And so the difference between stress and suffering is if you hit yourself in the head with a two before one time, that's stress. If you continue to hit yourself in the head with the same two before, that's suffering. So
Mm.
suffering is nothing more than failing to learn the lesson that was brought to you by virtue of the experience that felt stressful in the first place.
Wow. I like the way you put that together. Do you feel that stress is essentially an inevitable part of human existence?
Yes, because it's how we learn.
Mm.
Yeah, we learn by analogy. All consciousness learns by analogy, from our level to the way below us and way above us. That means we learn by comparison and contrast.
Mm-hmm.
If we did not experience things that we do not like, we would not know what we liked because we would have nothing to compare it to. And so we are designed to experience a lot of what we don't like so that we know what we do like and will shape ourselves in order to reduce and eventually eliminate attracting what we don't like and experience more and more happiness, which is what we do like. Happiness is who we are. It's not something that we get. It's not something that somebody can give us. It's something that we
Right.
experience because we become that.
So we're a show that focuses on men, but we do have a multitude of female listeners that tune in every week.
Mm-hmm.
But why do you feel, or in your opinion, do you feel that stress could be universal? It goes across cultures, times, levels of economic backgrounds. Stress is just universal.
Stress is pervasive to this range of consciousness. It's how we learn.
Hmm.
So, yes, we're elementary on the journey. We're beginning, relatively speaking, early on in our journey, and so consequently, the most of the population experiences nothing but stress. Very seldom they experience stress and less stress, and they perceive less stress to be what they like, which is
Right.
true relatively
Hmm.
speaking, but it's not necessarily what they like. That is the evolutionary process. But it is only awareness that allows us to move forward along that path. If you're not aware that you are the problem, you're not going to be able to fix the problem.
Hmm. So, real quick, can you walk us through what a meditation session would look like? Is there, well, before that, is there a time frame that people should meditate, and is it better to do in the mornings, the midday, or in the evenings? Because I've heard where people say, real early morning, like around 3 to 4 in the morning, is usually when the earth is most still. That's the best time to meditate. So, uh, in your opinion, is there a better time to do it, and how long should that session last?
Good questions, all, but it will vary from person to person. I've had some
Hmm.
students that can't meditate in the morning, but they meditate best at the end of the day.
Hmm.
It's entirely on you and how you manage your body and thought processes.
Right.
Personally, I find early morning the best time. I'm up, but I haven't turned on that list of things to do for the day yet. And so
Hmm.
consequently, it's easiest for me to slip into that. For several years, I went through a very intense period where I would wake up almost religiously at 3 o'clock in the morning. I didn't set an alarm. It just,
Right.
I'm up at 3, and I would meditate for an hour to two, and then I'd go back and take a nap before I got up for the day.
Right.
But that was the best time for me. But there is no best time other than for you. But
Hmm.
everybody comes to meditation running away from the stick. In other words, the stress and the things in their life don't feel good. And so they look for meditation as a mechanism in order to get away from the stick. And so it's kind of a negative orientation, a negative motivation,
Yes.
motivation to begin a meditation practice. But
Mhm.
I emphasize to the early students that you need to stay with it, because eventually, if you stay with it, you'll get a bite of the apple. And the
Right.
apple tastes really good. And so your motivation at that point transforms from running away from the stick to getting more of what you like. And that is really a significant turning point in someone's meditation, where they have had that experience. Even if it was just once, they'll pursue it again. If you have just absolutely the best, I don't know what, key lime pie in the world, and
You
then
name my favorite.
okay, well, then you're going to go every time you go into the restaurant, you're going to look and say, "Do they have key lime pie on this
I
menu?"
absolutely do.
Okay. Well, you know what I'm talking about then. But it's the same thing. You're going to keep meditating in the hopes, again, it's you that you're healing, you that you're amending. So the next time that you have that experience is because you allowed it, you permitted it to happen. The more you become aware of the characteristics that are necessary for you to slip into that mode, the more frequently it's going to occur. Most people, and I was no different. When I began to meditate, I followed guided meditations, and they worked for a while. That helped me bring that awareness inside, and then that became a distraction. So I didn't want that guidance anymore. I didn't want that distraction. Then you go through a period of permission slips, as they're called, bowls and candles, and whatever accoutrements that people associate with meditation. You go through that period until those things become a distraction, and you no longer need those things. And at that point, then you just sit down and you meditate. There is a period of transition in everyone's meditation, that you're transitioning from the village into the guru's cave. How long it takes is entirely up to you, and the time will get shorter as you develop your meditation practice. But and when you first begin, you probably won't get past that transition period. But the transition
Yeah.
period still feels better than being lost in the village. But you'll get to the point where you can sit down on a park bench in the middle of Times Square and have a perfectly good meditation, in spite of all of the distractions that are going on around you, because
Mhm.
you learn to control your attention to your thoughts. We cannot
Mhm.
stop our thoughts. It's not within our capacity at this range of consciousness. But you learn to observe your thoughts and not be lost in the thoughts. And it's kind of like you've seen a stock trading floor where they have
Yes.
the ticker tape running around the top of the
Yeah.
room. And you can choose to look at that or not. You can go on with what you're doing on the floor of the stock exchange room, or you can look up and pay attention to the ticker tape. And the same is true in your meditation. You can do the work of healing that you want to do in the meditation. If you want to pay attention to the thoughts, fine, you can look at the thoughts, but they're still going to continue to run whether you pay attention to them or not.
Mhm. Wow. Well, my question just left me, but maybe I need to meditate a little
Sorry.
more. um, I've heard that a lot of the most successful people, from the Bill Gates and Elon Musk and all, they all start their day with meditation. And some may be from an hour to 45 minutes before an hour to 2 hours before they ever start their day.
Mhm.
What does a session look like?
Well, it's going to look. I know what it looks like for me. I don't know what it looks like for them. I
When you're
suspect.
teaching your students, what do
Mhm.
you teach someone that's novice and that doesn't know about meditation? How would you teach them to get started?
Well, you don't have to sit on the floor. You don't have to do the lotus position. That hasn't been comfortable for me since I was about 6. And
Right.
so a lot of years have passed since then. Just sit in a straight back chair. Don't lay down. That's called napping. That's not meditating. That's a
Right.
different activity. But just sit in like a dining room chair or something like that has a straight back. That certainly can have a cushion. Feet flat on the floor and hands just comfortably on your thighs and relatively straight back, and close your eyes and begin to bring your awareness inside. The Buddhists are famous for um, uh, promoting watching your breath, and you watch your breath in, you watch your breath out, and you concentrate ever more deeply on what your breath is doing, what it feels like, what your body feels like. But that's a transition tool. That's not the meditation itself. That just transitions you from the village into the guru's cave. And once you get into the guru's cave, then you want to stop that and use your awareness to explore. You can explore physicality, you can explore emotions, you can explore thoughts, you can explore all of these things. All of these things are inside of you. You will get to the point in your healing, and the healing is a two-part process. One, all of these experiences that we have had that we didn't learn the experience are called emotional baggage, because we get to
Yeah.
keep it as emotional baggage. If you understand that every experience is a homework assignment, and if you don't do your homework, it doesn't mean the homework's not due. It just means you didn't do it. You hung out on the
Right.
street corner or watched TV or video games or whatever, but the homework is still due, and you get to keep that. And you get to keep every homework assignment has a textbook assigned to it. And you have to carry that textbook with you everywhere you go until you do your homework. Once you do your homework and you put the book down, never pick it up again. But say you don't do your homework for 30 days. Well, you got 30
Right.
textbooks to carry around with you, which is heavy, very heavy. You may remember textbooks are heavier than regular books.
Correct.
And so um, you're carrying this emotional baggage, and you've got to do your homework. In other words, learn the lessons that were brought to you in your life experiences in order to alleviate this emotional baggage and get rid of this emotional baggage. That is one aspect of the healing process. You need to learn the lessons that were brought to you because they were purposeful for you, not for everybody, for you. And so you learn the lessons that have been brought to you that you're still carrying as emotional baggage. The other thing, as you heal that, then your load gets lighter and your energy becomes available to do other work because it fuels your awareness. It's like gasoline to your awareness. It fuels your awareness, and you begin to become aware of the beliefs that you've incorporated into this false identity. And it is both the discovery tool and the healing tool. If you're going to work one day and you walk out and you see your car's got a flat tire,
Right.
well, you've discovered the problem. And you're not going to walk away from the car and never use the car again. You're going to fix the tire. Either you're going to do it or you're going to call somebody to do it, but you're
Right.
going to fix the problem. The same is true when you discover a belief that you've incorporated into this identity that is perpetuating your discomfort, your stress. Once you discover what the belief is, you're going to get rid of it. You're going to just let
Right.
it go. And so your magnet for attracting those types of experiences because of that belief also stop flowing to you because the magnet is gone. And so again, more of your authentic self emerges because you've reduced this perception, false perception of self. And so you experience less stress, and consequently you get happier.
How would you describe the difference between meditation and prayer?
Well, prayer, you're asking for somebody to do the work for you.
Mm-hmm.
You're asking somebody to heal you. It depends on what you do in prayer. I mean, if you're
Mhm.
asking for guidance, then that's called a calling, and you will get
Mhm.
guidance. But again, it's up to you to pay attention to what the guidance is and to actually implement that.
Mhm.
We're constantly being communicated with by our higher selves, which is our self in the future at a much higher level of consciousness.
Mhm.
So that is one aspect that prayer could include prayer, but most of the uh, the prayer that I'm familiar with is people asking for things.
Mhm. I have we did a show a few weeks ago with a hypnotherapist,
Hmm.
and I have a show coming up next week with a coach who talks about meditation, but he also talks about vibrational therapy.
Hmm.
And so he introduced me to the vibrational therapy, and I've started trying it where I would listen to the frequencies.
Hmm.
And so I have my headphones on, I listen to them at night, and I feel the differences.
Yeah,
Is that similar to where you're with uh your teachings within meditation?
sure. Vibration and all creation is a very variety of vibrations, and
Hmm.
we deem that to be frequency, but frequency is actually a time measurement. And
Hmm.
we're the only range of consciousness that is steeply enmeshed in the perception of time. Time is nothing more than our inability to process more than one thought at a time.
Hmm.
And so, consequently, frequency is our measurement of vibration, but vibration exists independent of frequency. But yes, all of there is no. It's difficult for us to grasp this. There is no distance. There is no separation. There is no time. The differences between what we perceive to be 2,600 light years away and where we are now is differences in vibration.
Right.
They are right here. There is no distance. There's no, you and I are in different
Right.
cities. We're actually in the same place, but it's
Right.
just the vibration that we perceive to be different.
Hmm. One of the videos I found was using hypnotism to help get into a deeper sleep.
Hmm.
And so I tried listening to this, and this was after our episode with the hypnotherapist. And the whole time in my mind, I'm saying, this is not going to work. This is a bunch of crap. This is not going to work. And I could hear the guy, and I felt like I was awake the entire time.
Hmm.
And I said, oh, I need to get up. And so I got up, and there was a puddle of drool all over my pillow. But I never knew that I went to sleep,
Yeah.
you know. So
What is the
what do you
mind?
say?
What is the mind?
That, well, the mind, it's your thought process, your beliefs, right?
It's all a mind is. A mind is a
Yeah.
bundle of beliefs, and the bundle of beliefs that we're talking about with the identity is our lowest mind. We have access to multiple layers of minds, but that's it's again
The
our
conscious
limitation
level
that
and the
can access.
subconscious level, right?
Yeah, well, it's all subconscious because we don't allow ourselves to go there. But
Mm-hmm.
every layer of consciousness is simply creates its own mind. And
Mm-hmm.
so there's stratifications of the mind ever expanding and ever diminishing in the authenticity of our autonomy. So the
So,
whole process of evolution is surrendering our perceptions of
mhm,
autonomy.
what would you say to a person that, like me, was very skeptical, that I'm like, this isn't going to work? What would you say to that person?
Try it.
Yeah.
John, you can explain it to somebody until you're blue in the face,
Yeah.
but until they experience it, we learn by experience. We don't learn by somebody telling us something.
Hmm.
The
That is true. That is
Yeah, we
true.
have to
Yeah.
experience it.
Yeah, I definitely experienced that one, and
Good for
and
you.
I
I'm
had
happy
to
for you.
put the pillowcases in the washing machine the next morning.
It's all right. Go to the store and get your plastic cover for your pillow, like Grandma used to put on the sofa.
That's right. So you are the author of multiple books out there.
Mhm.
Um, the the identity model, edifying children of a lesser God, the enlightenment plane, and simple tools to heal the mind, body, and spirit, and live life the way you were meant, um, and the enigma of the consciousness. Um, and I'm sure I'm missing some, but
No, those are the four. I mean, I'm working on others,
okay,
but I haven't put them out there yet.
okay. The identity model, that's the most recent.
No,
Okay,
the Enigma of Consciousness is actually
the
the most
enigma. Okay,
recent, and it's the most comprehensive as well.
okay. So in that book, and we'll focus on that one for the Man Space Nation. Uh, in that book, what was it that you wanted to bring out to your readers?
Our, when I say our, humanity's experience of incarnation and creation on Earth has been greatly, and I can't over emphasize how great we have been led astray with false information.
Hmm.
And so, consequently, and that was purposeful. The purpose was to restrict our evolutionary advancement. Um, and in order to heal, you have to first undertake the process, but you have to have truthful information.
Right.
And so, the purpose of the book, of all the books, is to provide to whatever stage of acceptance a person is truthful information that they can use as a seed to grow their own awareness from.
Hmm.
And so the enigma of consciousness is it's hardcore. It challenges most, if not all, of the beliefs that we as humans have. But
Hmm.
in understanding that, you understand a picture of how the whole system works, why we are as we are, what we need to do to change and to recover from our misdirection over all of
Hmm.
the centuries and hundreds of years. But the really the beginning book is the Enlightenment, Plain and Simple. It's an introduction, and it will give you some tools to begin to accelerate your healing process. The identity model is focused mostly towards mental health professionals, but it's not. You don't have to have any mental health training in order to understand it. It's simply written,
Right.
and you can undertake um, uh, an understanding and tools of the identity model and how it affects us and how it shapes our lives and why it perpetuates our stress, as well as I have some techniques in the past that are in the back that are extremely effective in expediting the healing of the emotional baggage and making aware a lot of the beliefs that we have. The um, I just went blank for a moment. The edifying children of a lesser God are an introduction to answers to existential questions that almost everybody has if they haven't asked them yet. But the enigma of consciousness goes full bore and answers all of that and then some.
Hmm. Where do you get your research from for the content for the book?
Well, not from here. It's when one thing that you do when you begin to surrender the authenticity of this identity and you meditate and you allow yourself to slip out of the authenticity of your physicality, then you open yourself to communication from the other parts of yourself that are not
Mhm.
incarnate. And they are always there. They are always available to us to be comforting, to be supportive, to be
Mhm.
whatever we need, but more importantly, to provide us with truthful information. And
Awesome.
you distinguish the truthfulness. And I have this conversation with psychologists all the time. They say, "Well, how do you know you're just not imagining?" Saying, "Well, number one,
Right.
you don't create when you imagine. You're just attracting other thoughts, and if they're not believable to you because they don't feel right, then that's not the truth. You know in your heart, Grandma says if you have a decision to make, you always choose your heart rather than your mind or your head.
Yeah.
And so if it feels right, you can pretty well bet that it's true."
Mm. Awesome. How can people find you, follow you, get more information about your teachings, even down to ordering your books?
Well, I have a central collection place, ddeangraves.org, a website, and it has a connection to all the books. I have two podcasts that I maintain as well. I have uh, uh, open services. I do is my mental health practice. I primarily focus on traumas to help people heal with traumas. I do a lot of work with veterans and healing their war traumas. And traumas are not difficult to heal. It's a complete misnomer. I heal. I had a work with a woman earlier this week, and in a 30-minute session, we cleared three major life traumas for her in 30 minutes. It usually takes
Yeah.
about 10 minutes to clear a trauma.
Wow.
And people are just
Wow.
amazed because, they'll carry it for a lifetime. Then all of a sudden it's just gone and they just, wow.
Hmm. Wow. That is that's very enlightening. I have a ton more questions, but we are running out of time for this episode. Oh man, thank you so much for spending time with us here in the Man Space. We definitely got to reconnect and go a little bit deeper into some of these topics. Um, Before you go, what are the name of your podcast?
Well, one is called Simple Enlightenment, and that
Mhm.
is a didactic. It's just me explaining things. And the other one is that's more active is chatting with the Arcturians. And the Arcturians are a sister group that is evolving through this creation that has just been in the process longer than we have. And they offer guidance and some of this truthful information that we alluded to earlier. And as we just chat, I ask questions and they answer, and we just have a
Yeah.
chat.
Oh. Well, Manspace Nation, go out, check his website, make sure that you follow his information. Check out his podcast as well. Give a listen, and then also check back in with us and let us know what you think. Drop us some feedback on this episode, and we definitely would love to hear that. So, Dean, thank you so much for spending time with us. It
Thank
was
you, Russ.
been very enlightening, and
Well,
I really appreciate the information that you shared with the Manspace Nation today.
well, you're very kind. I'm grateful for the opportunity to do so. And this is I consider my mission is to provide an information that helps people
Mhm.
with their own enlightenment. And
Thank you.
so I'm always available.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Wow. Wasn't that just a powerful episode of the Manspace podcast? Listen, Dean Graves just dropped wisdom on you guys for free. And like I say, hey, if it's free, I'll take 3. But Manspace Nation, listen, check out his website, get the books, ddeangraves.org. ddeangraves.org. Go in there, get his books. And then, let us know what you think of the information that he shared. Listen, Manspace Nation, you can always let us know what you thought of this episode and any episode, either on Instagram, TikTok, or Facebook at ManspaceNat1. And since Les is not here, I'm going to have to say his line for him. We out of here. Thank you for listening to this episode of The Manspace.
Whichever platform you listen to us on, make sure you subscribe and don't miss a show.
Remember to keep up with all the Manspace updates on our website, themanspacepodcast.com.
And you can follow us on Instagram at ManspaceNat1.
Until next time, Manspace Nation, he's Les, I am Russ, and we are out of here.
That's all, folks.